Good to see everybody again. Welcome to Localite. John Compton here. And today I have Chad Sperry of the Mount Hood Cycling Classic, a big event here in the Columbia Gorge. And so Chad, I appreciate you coming on the show. Good to see you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. And let's just talk a little bit about the Mount Hood Cycling Classic. As you know, where did it come from? It's obviously grown and it's a pretty substantial event, but let's start with where it came from.
Well, it came from an original idea. There was a couple of buddies of mine and I that we would used to race and train in and around the Dalles. We both lived in the Dalles, but we'd train and race throughout the Northwest. And as we went to all these different huge events and so forth and competed at both the amateur and elite level, we started saying, a lot of these communities are really neat and everything like that, but they don't have the infrastructure and the roads that we have in the Columbia River Gorge. And so the idea kind of hatched from that, in thinking that we have these beautiful, magnificent roads and infrastructure. Could we do an event of a pretty decent size in nature right here in Hood River and in around the Columbia River Gorge? And so that idea kind of spawned a little bit and grew and grew and grew. And at that point, we started going out into the different community and talking to partners and seeing if there was a general interest in having an event of that nature here.
Nice. So you kind of spearheaded it.
Yeah,
actually, one of the influential people in spearheading it.
Correct. Yeah, myself and a good friend of mine, Jeff Lorenzen, who still lives in Hood River, we kind of started talking about it on some of these long training rides. And we do these amazing rides up and through the Mount Hood National Forest and down through the Columbia River Gorge, and they were just such magnificent roads. And we knew that they were very special because anywhere we traveled and went to race, we never found anything that was quite as unique or spectacular as what we had right here at home. And so traveling abroad helped really kind of accentuate what kind of a special thing that we have right here in the Columbia River Gorge. And so that's what got us kind of thinking and inspired us to move forward with this kind of a project.
Okay. It's interesting how the Gorge does that, isn't it? I mean, you go away and you come back and you're kind of like, wow, we really have it pretty good here.
Yes.
So the geographical challenges along this race are pretty significant in different places.
They are, and that's a great point to make. One of the things that make this kind of a very unique venue is first off, you're really going to be hard pressed to find another location in the U.S. that has the diversity. And what I mean by diversity, I'm talking about the landscape diversity. The Mount Hood Cycling Classic runs for 6 days, and in those 6 days, we're going to take the competitors from downtown Portland in this metropolitan, high-density type of an area. We're going to take them out into the Columbia River Gorge with the magnificent waterfalls and scenery, and I affectionately call it the world's largest wind tunnel. And then we're going to take them up onto Mount Hood. We're going to have a stage that starts and finishes at Mount Hood Meadows. It's that whole alpine setting above the tree line, the snow, and then we're going to drop them back down into eastern Oregon, down south of the Dalles, and on the way down towards Maupin and some of that sagebrush and so forth. So you really would be, it's next to impossible to find another event in this country, a cycling event or any type of event that would have such a diverse landscape change and ecosystem change for these competitors. That constant change really keeps the competitors enthralled and interested in the race itself. Even if they get shelled and are off the back and they've turned into tourists because they're no longer in contention, they've got this magnificent scenery around them, and it makes it a very pleasurable event for them to compete in.
And the people that are actually participating in this, these are pros. I mean, this is a pro race. This is not correct. Your weekend warrior, go out, have fun, gonna go cycle and just have a good time. I mean, these people are, speeds of
30, 40, on the flats, 30 to 40 miles an hour when they wind up for their sprints. But we've seen them hit 60, 65 on some of the descents around here, some of the major mountains that they've descended on these mountain roads. And that's hitting those speeds with negotiating corners as well. I mean, when these guys are up to speed on some of these twisty mountain roads and they're descending, they'll actually be descending faster than motorcycles and cars and vehicles can actually travel. So we have to always be very cautious with our race caravan, because there's a lot of different support vehicles that roll along with this big pro race, that we give the riders enough of a buffer when we're coming up to a major descent, because they are going to be flying down some of these mountain roads and twisty, winding roads and so forth. So yeah, to answer your question, these competitors that are coming here, we see people from all over the world. We see former world champions, national champions from different countries. It's really a big deal, and so we feel really fortunate that we have this level of talent, Olympic caliber athletes that are right here in our hometown, riding on our roads and eating in our restaurants, and it's a real privilege to be able to have seen this event kind of grow through time to the level it is today.
Yeah, and you say competitors, I mean, but it is competition.
Yes.
I mean, it is competition. These folks are, and it's men and women, and they're hardcore.
Very hardcore, very hardcore. In fact, 2 years ago we had Jeannie Longo, who's probably the most decorated women's cyclist in the history of the sport. Some like 40 world titles between track and road and so forth. And the name and the reputation has just preceded itself, not just border to border in this country, but even internationally. And so some of those riders that we're seeing here are coming from different countries because it is such a unique event, and there is so much compressed into basically a 5 to 6 day time span as far as the diversity of the courses and the diversity of the landscapes and so forth. And
there's a pretty significant purse at the end.
That is correct. We have close to $30,000 on the line for these cyclists as they come in and compete for this.
That's great. That's great. And you're going to have live music also. And this is one of those events where spectators are encouraged to get out there and watch.
Very much so, yes. We have all sorts of festivities. We've got an event expo that's going to be happening on downtown Hood River in conjunction with the stage that runs through the streets of downtown Hood River. We've got 2 major expos that we're going to be doing in Portland. We've got music. We've got some of the top race announcers in the country that are going to be coming, giving the blow-by-blow call. So somebody walking off the street, they do an outstanding job being able to talk about the diversities and which rider is who and how this whole thing is playing out and so forth. So we really try to make this a real fun and festive thing for the spectators.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to ask you a little bit about the training wheels to 12-year-olds, I think it is. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back with Chad Sperry of the Mount Hood Cycling Classic right here on Localite. Stay with us.